Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
4 games minimum. It is retroactive, I believe, so he could be back in, I believe, too. But
what happened to if it was a playoff game he was going to play?
I mean, I don't, but it wasn't a playoff game.
And neither was yesterday. And
neither was yesterday.
The next 2.
Yeah, right.
Or 4 if it's that much more.
Look, as long, I'll say it again. If you gave me a choice between the 49ers having home field advantage, the best record in the NFL, and Christian McCaffrey playing every game until the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Or the Niners sneak into the wild card and they have Christian McCaffrey for the duration of the playoffs. If you told me those were the 2 binary choices right now, I would take option B.
Yeah.
Give me the wild card, give me a healthy McCaffrey.
I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with the premise. I think there's such an advantage, even more now, the way the playoffs are set to be the 1 seed. Now, Niners can still do it without him. I think they're good enough to do it without him if he misses a bulk of the season or just 4 games, 5 games, who knows. But being the 1 seed means you win 1 home game and you're in the title game, the championship at home.
Yes. It's a big deal.
Now, if you're on the a 2, a 5, a 7 seed, it's more work. It can all be done. They're good enough to do it. But I just think there's a huge advantage to getting there. But you shouldn't do it. They shouldn't have played him in a panic or thinking, like, we've got to play him because we want to secure the 1 seed. There's a lot of football left.
There is a lot of football left. And like we said, you look at Jordan Mason's numbers, he's had a phenomenal year so far. He's had an all-pro caliber year so far. But he ain't Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, he's fitting that stuff we've said, the Shanahan, whether it's Mike or Kyle, plug and play running back quite well.
Very well.
I mean, he's running, he's doing the work, but the blocking's great. The scheme, the way they set it up works well, and he has to do it, and he does.
And the thing is with McCaffrey is that it's not quite the same, but there's a little Ohtani-ness in him. Not offense, defense, but he literally is a top-flight running back, a top-flight slot-ish receiver. Yeah. And by the way, he's a pretty damn good blocker, too.
Yeah, you honestly, I mean, I feel this. I feel like he can score on every play.
I agree with you.
And there's not many guys like that, and he's one of them.
And what sucks is he has had some injury issues throughout his career, which I think has really robbed him from one of those, like, is he up there with the all-time greats?
Mm-hmm.
But then again, you look at a guy like Alvin Kamara yesterday. Alvin Kamara's looked semi-done the last couple of years. And again, we're only a couple games into the season, but Alvin Kamara looks like the Alvin Kamara 5 years ago. Also, fun note, like they mentioned in the highlights we were playing for the Cowboys-Saints game, Alvin Kamara never has had a 1,000-yard rushing career this year. Yeah, not once. Here is Kyle Shanahan on Christian McCaffrey.
Nobody knows. We're dealing with tendinitis, so there's not one person knows. He doesn't know. We don't know. We take it day by day. By putting him on IR, it's at least 4 weeks. So that'll give him some time to rest and kind of protect him from himself, us too. And no matter how he's feeling, it's 4 at the minimum.
Did you by chance see any of the stuff, the pregame? I know it was a clip that was going around with Teddy Bruschi talking about Tua. Did you see that by chance yesterday?
I did. No, yeah, we was referencing his stroke. Yes, I did.
I had this thing placed in my heart, and I'm asking doctors, okay, but let's say I get hit by the blind side.
Yep.
Well, it should be okay. The doctors are going to tell you the best of their knowledge. And it's not to the same seriousness or severity, but it just feels like that's one of these kind of injuries. Like, yeah, I guess a lot more damage could happen. I think that's very, very possible. But when are you clear from that? When will they know this is the proper amount of time to heal?
The analogy that always got me was, look, when you're in the NFL, you're reaching into a bowl of M&Ms. Big bowl of just the plain kind, not the peanut kind, to be important, because that's an important point because there's a lot of M&Ms in this bowl, Jason. And every year you take a handful and you eat them, but there's one M&M in there that's a career-ending, paralyzing injury. You're going to be nervous every time you take a handful, but odds are in your favor. Well, every time Tua gets one of these concussions, you drop, I wouldn't say a handful of M&Ms in there, but you drop a few.
Yeah.
and maybe not necessarily paralyzing, but mentally, you just don't know. They have no idea how bad it is.
And I don't know if that's the same, again, not the same severity of McCaffrey will be able to have a life after that. We're concerned about Tua on that end, but in this McCaffrey one, I think you could train, you could do all the treatment, you could do all the stuff, practice, but maybe there's a cut that you think, I practice as hard as I play.
Yeah.
Well, there's adrenaline, there's momentum. It's like, oh man, I didn't see Dave at this angle, and then boom, I got to make the quickest, harshest foot plant, and like that was it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that'll happen, but
right.
How does one know when something's been lingering that at some point he'll be cleared?
He will be cleared.
Yeah.
And the worst part, one of the worst parts, this wasn't a hit from behind sack. This was a very incredibly avoidable situation. Now, had he slid,
right?
But we could be sitting here a year or two from now, or a game from now, if he comes back, and he could slide, and it could be one of those things where the guy dives over him and his knee hits the helmet.
Yeah,
I don't know. I've said it again, and I thought a lot of people really kind of echoed the same thing. Dude, get the injury settlement. It's not as important as your health. It's not as important as your family. And we've seen before guys, whether it's a Bo Jackson, whether it's a Sterling Sharp, we've seen a handful of guys who they've had to hang it up. And none of those guys, not that money is everything, but none of those guys have the money on the table that Tua does.
Right.
He's young, but he's 24, 25. It's just, I hope that Tua Tagovailoa never plays an NFL game again. And I think it's also a tragedy if he never plays an NFL game. Tragedy. It's depressing as hell if he never plays. I don't want that.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to think about the guy, but I get it. You only live once and you go. All right. As promised, coming up next, not one, two, the second, speaking of Tua, they won a huge game